What's up everybody, this is Sergey from MMA Soap Opera, cause that's what it is, and the hype for UFC 309 is real! Despite all of us being slightly salty that Tom Aspinall is not the part of the main fight, I still think that we have a bunch of bangers on our hands. I think that Stipe deserves the fight, I was talking about it in the previous video, you can check it out in here. But also, we are getting Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2, as well as Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. So in this video, I want to talk about these three matchups in particular, but before we do any of that, guys, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell so that you don't miss any new content. We are just getting started on this channel, so don't miss out on the ride. By the way, I have a little bit of a cold in case I mumble a little bit more than usual. Sorry about that. Alright, and with all that being said, let's jump straight into the video. Alright, so let's start with Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. Bo Nickal, of course, one of the most exciting UFC prospects that we have right now, and you can tell that the promotion loves him. A clean-cut type of guy, very much like Michael Chandler. We're gonna talk about him in a second. Personality-wise, very likable, very humble, really nice guy. Like, you can tell that he's a nice guy. But of course, an absolute monster of a wrestler. According to some, actually the best wrestler in the UFC, considering his college wrestling credentials. In the octagon, he looked fantastic in his 3 UFC fights. He absolutely demolished Pickett and Woodburn in just 1 round, and then got a pretty good win against Cody Brundage on UFC 300, even though that there was a little bit of adversity, but still I thought that he did really well. So this is gonna be his first proper test in the UFC, because of course Paul Craig has been around for a pretty long time, but more importantly he fought some high caliber fighters like Magomed Ankalaev, Brandon Allen, Caio Borraio from the Fighting Nerds fam. We're gonna mention these guys a little bit later in the video as well. The thing with Paul Craig is that he's been known for being a little bit of a one-trick pony, but that one trick that he had has worked for him time and time again. Like for example, that literally last-minute win against Magomed Ankalaev, that was absolutely nuts. However, in my opinion, there's absolutely no way that he could pull this thing off against Bo Nickal. Bo has been showing some serious progress in jiu-jitsu lately, and considering how gifted he is with his striking, despite still being a novice, I think that if you still combine it with his world-class wrestling, Paul Craig is gonna have a pretty tough time in my opinion. So, in my opinion, Bo Nickal is gonna make a pretty massive statement, and he's basically gonna start knocking on the door of the top 15 in the division. Bo Nickal by 2nd round TKO. Alright, so let's move on to Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2. This is goddamn about the time that we saw Michael Chandler back in the octagon. He of course lost a bunch of time waiting for that Conor McGregor fight, so I still hope that they're gonna do the fight with Conor McGregor. They just have to honor the tradition of the Ultimate Fighter coaches fighting against each other. I think that's a must, and I think actually that they have a contract signed for that. Or am I wrong? I might be wrong. But otherwise, man, Chandler, he's that kind of fighter that just goes 1,000 miles per hour. He said himself, I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time. But well, it's been a long time since we saw him back in the octagon, hasn't it? Anyways, I'm not trying to beat the dead horse in here. I'm actually a massive Michael Chandler fan. One cannot deny that the man is excitement personified. And the same can of course be said about Charles Oliveira. That's why this fight is so exciting, because these two guys are just bonus and fight of the year machines. Charles Oliveira is actually one of my absolute favorite fighters in the UFC. I just think that the relentless pressure and the ability to pull off wins despite being hurt at times, that's just a recipe for a must-watch fighter. So he's had a bit of a tough luck with Arman Tsarukyan last time. I think that he still did pretty damn well despite losing. And in my opinion, he's still like up there. 1 or 2 spectacular wins and he's in the title contention talk once again, easily. By the way, is he not going blonde this time? What? Anyways, with Michael Chandler, you actually don't really know what is gonna happen, because the man, he's like a tornado. I would be in absolute shock if this fight went the distance. I think this is like a 50-50 type of a fight. I'm actually slightly leaning towards Chandler this time. Maybe like a 3rd round KO. I know that sounds kind of crazy. Or maybe a 3rd round submission by Olives. I don't know. That's how tough this one is, man. Anyways, I'm gonna stick to the crazy prediction of Michael Chandler winning by KO in the 3rd round. Alright, and now of course the main fight of the evening. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I think that this is the fight that we just have to get done with. In the last video I said that I'm actually glad that the Stipe got the fight. I also explained why, so make sure to watch it. And I also said that regardless of how this fight ends, I believe that the wait for Tom Aspinall is basically over. In my opinion, there is no way that UFC would disrespect him by making him wait even longer. So, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, in my opinion, is a legacy fight that we fans need to get. They are of course big names, they are legends, and having two legends going against each other while we still have them around, I think that's just great regardless. Never mind that the Stipe was out for almost 4 years and that Jon Jones had only one fight in the last 5 years. Never mind. I just hope to see Stipe in a good shape, and I hope that is gonna put Jon through his paces. I also hope that if Jon Jones wins, we'll miraculously see that all this talk has been just for building up that fight. But if we will not see him fight Tom Aspinall, I actually have nothing against the BMF fight with Alex Pereira, despite it being an obvious low-hanging fruit for him. Surely it would be an exciting event, but what I care the most about is the unification bout at heavyweight. That's what I want to see the most. But otherwise, when it comes to Stipe and Jon Jones, I think that what is gonna be the biggest difference maker is probably gonna be Jon Jones's versatility in the striking department. I think that Stipe won't let Jon do the same to him as he did to Cyril Gane, and probably if they end up on the ground, I think they will sort of like cancel each other out. Although I wouldn't be surprised if at like 3rd or 4th round, one of the later rounds, Jon Jones could end up on a really tired Stipe Miocic and just ground and pound till he would get the win. But on the other hand, I think that there's still a possibility that, for example, Stipe could catch Jon and just knock him the f out. He has absolutely showed it time and time again that he has the punching power for that, but if I'm gonna listen to my gut, I would still guess that this fight would end in like a 3rd or 4th round TKO for Jon Jones. So yeah, I'm actually sticking with that 3rd or 4th round TKO win for Jon Bones Jones. So those were the 3 main bouts of the event, but before that we will also see other fighters like, for example, Jim Miller, Chris Weidman, Marcin Tybura, Basil Hafez. He actually fights in early prelims. I was very intrigued by him ever since that split decision loss that he had against JDM, which was actually in his UFC debut. Pretty exciting stuff. But also, of course, we'll see Corinne Silva and Mauricio Ruffi. These two fight on the main card, and for really good reason. Very exciting prospects, 2 absolute freight trains. By the way, Mauricio Ruffi, another fighting nerd fighter. Like I said in the last video, I think that these guys are absolutely taking over UFC and MMA right now. But yeah, this was it for today's video, guys. I really can't wait how these 3 fights are gonna play out, as well as the rest of the card, of course. If you like this video, guys, make sure to hit like, but also don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that you don't miss any coming content. I wish you all a great event of the fights. See you in the next video. This was Sergey from MMA Soap Opera, because that's what it is.